everyone. Welcome to Ad Age Remotely. I'm Janine Poggi, editor of Ad Age. Thank you so much for joining us. Today, I'm joined by Steve Stoute, CEO of Translation. It's been a big year for Translation, which helped to forge a deal between the NFL and Apple Music, making it the sponsor of the Super Bowl halftime show. The Brooklyn based agency also won the business of the Big 12 Conference, making it the agency's first foray into college sports. Outside of translation, Stout has also been growing his latest business, United Masters, a music distribution and data analytics company which was designed to create equity for artists and creators as music increasingly lives across platforms. He is joining me today to discuss the Super Bowl and how brands should think about music on social channels. Hey, Steve.
Janine, how are you?
I'm good. It's good to see you again. Welcome back to the
Always,
show.
it's always great to see you. It's always great to being here, actually.
And before we get started, for those of you watching at home, if you have any questions or comments for Steve, feel free to leave them on our social channels. We will try to get to them during this conversation. And if you like what we're doing here on Ad Age Remotely, please like, subscribe, share, or retweet this post. Steve, the Super Bowl, really exciting what Apple Music is doing with the halftime show and its deal with NFL. Can you talk to us a little bit about how that deal came together?
Well, first, I'll just talk about the halftime has been the most prominent showcase of music in the world. I think it has, and last year with Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg, and that was really mind blowing, and it really showed you just how far music can go in uniting people and bringing people together. And I don't know anybody, grandmothers and their grandkids who watched that show, and they were all connected because those musical moments over the last 30 years. So I think Apple Music seen that and thought it was a great opportunity to take what they stand for as the global leader in streaming music and partner with the NFL. And I was, proud to be a part of that, and looking forward to what comes out of it as we start our journey next year, this Super Bowl.
What are the new opportunities for brands around the Super Bowl? We talk about emerging technology and the way things like that are being used. We talk about influencers and social. How can brands at this point really, elongate those types of sponsorships in a platform like the Super Bowl?
Well, I think the word sponsorship is probably not the right word to use as it relates to this relationship, nor should it be the word that brands are looking for as they look at going into any kind of music partnerships. Like the word sponsorship puts you in a situation where you're just basically it's an addition to the media buy. It doesn't feel like you're integrated in the process at all. In fact, I've always been a non-supporter of just buying naming rights or buying rights without finding ways to deeply engage the brand and the brand's purpose in that relationship. So sponsorship is not something that I've ever endorsed or stood behind. With music going in the direction that it's going, which is why I started United Masters, the opportunities are plentiful because music is now becoming it used to be just songs you enjoy and artists that you can buy partnerships with. Now with streaming platforms and music distribution platforms such as ours, there's much more opportunity to partner with artists on a local level, artists on regional levels, and use their influence no different than any other creator to create deep, engaging relationships that can move the needle. Uh, we started United Masters specifically with that purpose. We have 1.5 million artists on the platform. Um, and it allows us to really understand who's moving the needle in places like Jacksonville
Mm.
or Baton Rouge, because these artists all have communities, and and this is how they grow. And brands are looking to tap into those communities because they brand need to understand not only on a macro level what national exposure, but how do you get into community and touch the people? And music and United Masters specifically in this case allows that to take place. And that's what we've been doing for a lot of the brands who've been working with us thus far.
TikTok has really changed the conversation around brands and music and how brands should be thinking about music across platforms. What is TikTok's role in all of this?
TikTok has been, I mean, it came on fast and it's gotten deep. The algorithm is real. But what we've seen, specifically in our case, is that music has played a huge role in driving engagement on TikTok. So what brands are doing now are they coming to us because we have, a thousands of songs, um, in, thousands of songs in pre-cleared music, so that brands can use this pre-cleared music when they post their, TikToks or whatever they want to do on social media. And music has driven engagement up 300% versus when you put a post without music, specifically our music. That's the data that we've gotten back. So as brands go deeper and deeper in spending and buying and posting editorial and social, music is becoming way more important, and they need it quick and fast. And coming to us allows that to take place. When you go to the major labels, which is what typically would happen, it takes too long and it's very expensive to get music to post immediately. We've helped solve that problem, and look, we've been a great partner to TikTok, and they've been a great partner to us, and we've seen engagement go um, uh, deepen as a result of our music partnerships. You could just look at the NBA. NBA has a big TikTok presence, and the music behind that presence is ours. And other brands are joining that as well.
One thing we're seeing a lot more of is brands tapping TikTok creators, music on TikTok to actually create brand sounds for the
Yeah.
brand themselves, original, music or sounds. How important is like original brand sounds these days? And
Oh,
where can they come from? I think the pool of options for brand sounds and what a brand sounds like has changed dramatically, even over like the last 2 years.
yeah. We do a thing called open call where brands come to United Masters, or they come to translation. They can come to translation, and they're looking for the opportunity to get these brand sounds, and it has certain criteria. And we put that out to our 1.5 million creators and give them the opportunity to make sounds, um, in a sense, audition those sounds to be utilized by the brands. And we've run great programs around it. In fact, we're doing something like that with Intel right now. We've done a program like that to create dynamic playlisting for NBA 2K, the video game. We went to our creators to make songs that were part and featured in that video game. So that it is changing fast and rapidly because you can tap into a pool of creativity and creatives very quickly. And as a result of that, you get a chance to a chance to get engaged customers as well as creators making different sounds for your brand. Um, I think that's exciting. Like the idea that a mnemonic can come from anybody and change at any time will be remixed by the creators um, is it's a different level of engagement, and it's a new layer of sound playing a role in brand identity.
One thing that you brought up that United Masters is doing is looking at like the analytics behind it, and going down to like that local level to really see
Yeah.
what
Moving the needle.
listeners various are listening to, and the types of artists that they are tapping. In a similar way, when you look at like that local level, I think the NIL deals that have emerged over the last year or so are
Yeah.
really interesting in terms of tapping into college athletes that resonate in a certain community. How are you looking at like the NIL landscape and brand deals as it relates to that?
The NIL deals is a game changer. Now you have they're acknowledging that they are professional athletes, right? They're getting paid. Um, and now you have kids on college campuses making, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars because they are, great athletes. Brands are now, we've seen this with LeBron James' son, right? He announced a deal with Nike. He announced a deal with Beats by Dre. We actually did a commercial featuring, sort of uh, touting that announcement. It allows brands to get deeper at a younger age with these athletes and then matriculate with them over time as they become professional superstars. It's already happening that high school basketball players specifically are getting very, very famous because of social media. So their fame exceeds their age and their accomplishments in pro sports very early, and they develop a community of people who love them and follow them. And now they can actually make money off of that, given the NIL deals. I think it creates a lot of opportunity for brands to touch and get into this cultural zeitgeist very early. On a collegiate level, you talk about us working with the Big 12. I think it's going to change college sports because now it's not like just going to the college specifically because the football team is good or whatever. The colleges have big television rights deals. And now, if you're a college program that has developed a great NIL network, why wouldn't a kid decide I want to go to that college because they have sponsorships built in and ready for me, or opportunities that I can engage with very early leaving high school. It helps set up my family, and it helps set up my journey as a professional athlete, on my way to being a professional athlete. So it's definitely going to change. We're just at the tipping point of what's taking place. You're going to see it change the entire collegiate landscape rapidly. And brands are going to have a lot of opportunities, a whole new landscape of opportunities as a result.
Yeah, so what should brands be thinking about who are considering like looking to tap a college athlete as a brand ambassador or part of their, creator networks? What should they really be thinking about at this stage?
They should be thinking about the concern is they're young. So are they someone at risk? Something, they're young people make mistakes. They're teenagers, right? Essentially. So there's a concern about that. The upside is obviously that you can get someone that becomes the next LeBron James while he was in high school. You can do that now versus what you never had the opportunity to do that before. So I think brands should be looking at networks of people who can help navigate that landscape for them, because it has its pros and its cons. But I think the pros outweigh the cons in the fact that you can actually take someone that you discover early and go on a very long journey with them. And when we look back 10 years from now, we're going to see brands that had relationships with someone as they've gone through that journey of life.
I'm Janine Poggi. I'm here with Translation CEO Steve Stoute. Thank you to those of you who are watching at home. We have Nicola, Ramiro, Edward, David, Lomesh, Carlo, Oscar, and Peter. So nice for you to join us. Thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them on our social channels. So zooming out a little bit, Steve, and looking at the larger creator influencer marketing landscape moving into 2023, what do you think we'll see as some of the biggest trends in the ecosystem? What are some, of the things that you expect to evolve moving into the new year?
Wow, that's a loaded question. I think you're going to see. I mean, every time you get into this kind of environment, brands move from. I put things in categories. You got want, spending, and you got wants, and then you got like needs. And the wants sort of go away when you go into this economic climate, and they only rely on the needs. I think one of the needs that will stay are brands needing to invest in future-proofing their business. They need to understand the timelines, the half-lives are so fast and there's so many brands being discovered daily that you must stay front and center with the next generation so that you can have them feel engaged in part of your brand and what your brand stands for. If you try to pull back money and you go, I'm not going to future-proof my business, that's a want. That's not a need. You'll find yourself coming on the other side of this recession, if we're really in one, and without an audience, because there's so many brands being created every day. Discovery on these TikToks and other platform of other brands happen so frequently that you can't stay out of the mix as it relates to future-proofing your business. So I would say the biggest change that I'm going to see is that in prior economic hard times, the first thing I've seen brands pull back money on was, um, you know, things that were considered cool or culturally relevant. That stuff kind of went away. That stuff, I believe, is going to become where they put their money towards because they realize that's the future customer and they cannot lose sight of what that means to them when we get into better economic times.
We have a question from Karim on LinkedIn. How do these individual player NIL deals conflict with schools that have existing brand deals? It's a good question.
Um, Actually, that's probably a new frontier where, they make the kids, for instance, if you go to a specific college, you have to wear Nike. Like you can't not wear Nike.
Right.
Like um, that may be challenged, and that will probably just need a lot of lawyers and a lot of new uh, mandates and rules that become uh, par for the course. But as of right now, there are brand deals in which the athlete is forced to wear it. If you play for, Duke, you got to wear Nikes. Like you cannot not wear Nikes. Um, so I just believe that that is something that will evolve, where these players and their NIL deals can be in conflict with the school's deal, but it has not happened yet. That'd be a very interesting
Yeah.
sort of legal battle if that ever were to take place.
Yeah, that's interesting. You're talking about how during an economic downturn, that need for innovation, those areas where maybe you would think you would cut or become even more important. Similarly, I'm thinking about some of the emerging tech happening, things like Web3, metaverse, NFTs, virtual goods. How are you, advising clients at this time? How are you looking at that nascent landscape?
That they have to invest. Like there's not this idea that I'm going to wait and then see what happens. Idea is not an idea. So whether it's blockchain or any Web3 based application, um, NFTs, I think it's very important that they set themselves up to be in the space, and the only way to really get education on it outside of, the typical education or formal education, and hiring quality people who think on experts on the topic is also by investing in it and testing and learning, which is what technology has always been about: testing and learning, failing fast. So for this idea that a brand is going to sit back and wait to see how it all shakes out and then jump in, by the time you do that, it's too late.
We'll be on to the next thing.
It's on to the next thing. So I do believe that um, it, that testing and learning is something that's important as you think about any technology. And I would urge brands, and I tell our partners all the time, let's go into the space, let's go into Roblox, let's go into whatever it may be at the time, and then let's see and how we can maneuver in that world and learn from it. So if we decide we want to scale, we can scale. Even if we pull back after that, that's fine. But to not try it all and wait to see is not an idea that I endorse.
Is there a platform that's most exciting to you right now?
Well, for us, anything around blockchain is important because I believe for us specifically, um, when I talked about our 1.5 million artists, they want to get paid by a trusted source. And, having blockchain allows transparency at a level that the music industry specifically has never, ever seen. Um, so allowing the artist to get paid and then split their payments, 4 or 5 writers write one song, and to be able to put that song on the blockchain and the artists have that, that contract, so they get paid in perpetuity per the contract in the chain, I think is an incredible innovation towards the music business around payments. And that's probably where I have most of my focus. But we're still invested in NFTs, and trying to figure out if that's going to be the next way songs are delivered and the way um, fans want to buy into artists is through NFTs. We're sticking our toe in that because we're testing and learning. But the most important priority to me with Web3 is, I would say, around payments on the blockchain.
How are you analyzing and thinking about Twitter at this point?
I was never a Twitter person, to be honest with you. I always felt like it was negative. For some odd reason, I always felt like it was always this debate that ended in a negative way. And um, so I personally it was not a platform that I've ever felt um, engaged in. Um, I think some of the things that they do, some of the advertising products that they've had have been very, very effective because they have a great audience. And you can really find audience groups very easily that you can target on the platform well. I think brands holding back right now on it. I'm not sure if that's the right idea or not. It's, if you're buying an audience, that's the right audience. If you're buying an audience and that's the audience you're looking for, I don't think that because Elon Musk bought it and is making modifications to the business that you should hold back and wait as a result of that. I mean, Amazon just laid off 10,000 people and Meta just laid off 11,000 people. And, God knows what's next. People are laying off people. So I don't know why you may not like the style or the speed in which he's laying people off, but the company's also losing, billions of dollars, and he had to make a change. So obviously something wasn't working. Why brands decide they want to pause on spending because of that is something I quite don't understand.
We've had you on a couple of times, and we've spoken over the last 2 years about progress being made in the ad world around DE&I. Where do you think that progress stands at this point? Where have you seen things moving forward, and in what areas or what parts have kind of stalled out?
To me, it's the same thing. It's what I told you 2 years ago. When it becomes a hot topic, all of the leaders come out and say we need to do better. Then everybody has to publish their numbers, and they publish their numbers and say we need to do better. And then it goes away. A new topic arises, and it goes in the background. The only way it's going to change is if brands decide to hold their agencies and partners accountable for their diversity quotas. That's the only way it's going to change. And I've said this, and I really mean this, that unless you demand it, you're not even going to get the best work, because the diverse minds trying to solve a problem, different thinking is how you get the best solution, period. So not only are you doing the right moral thing by demanding this diversity, you're also getting better product creativity as a result of having diverse minds think on your problem. It's one of my biggest complaints about the ad agency, the world. And I hope you don't take this the wrong way over at Ad Age, is like the whole idea of multicultural this, and I just think that it's not right. I think it's stuck in the wrong place. We won multicultural agency of the year, and this, like, everybody should be multicultural. Everything should be multicultural. The general market is multicultural. So if that's even a word that we're going to use, we should be not using it as a subsection of mass. It should actually be specific into describing mass, because the mass is multicultural.
What would you say moving forward, over moving into 2023 would be the next step then? I mean, it seems like we're in awfully close to the same place in your eyes where we spoke 2 years
Yeah.
ago last year. What would, you like to see change, or what do you think is the next step in sort of hoping to see that kind of change?
Real accountability, real accountability, not convenient accountability, not hiring a Black person that's the DEI person and then saying that the DEI person is there to police it. Diversity and inclusion starts with the CEO. And if a company needs to hire a DEI officer, it's because they need to police themselves, and that's a problem. The CEO's job is to hire and bring forth a culture in which diversity is par for the course. It's how we hire. It's how we build a organization. It's what you demand. And you have to bring in somebody to police that. I don't believe that that's going to necessarily change anything, um, because they're policing you and holding you accountable to what you should be doing anyway. It should be in your heart. It should be part of your fabric. I just believe that. Um, so unless the brands, again, hold their partners accountable for this, I don't think anything changes in any seismic way. Um, having one or two Black people or a woman that you could bring to a meeting and say, look, we're diverse. I mean, that's trick is old. And I still see it happening in meetings that I go to, that it's diversity. It's diversity to say that you're diverse, not diversity because you believe in it as a value within your organization.
Steve, it is always a pleasure having you on. Thank you for joining us today. Appreciate it. And we're looking forward to seeing what comes out of the halftime show.
Janine, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Well, be sure to tune in to our upcoming episodes of Remotely. You can find out more at adage.com/remotely. As always, thank you to our AdAge crew, Lauren Ciardio, Arabella Breck, and Anna Sakula for helping to make this all happen. Thanks everyone for tuning in.